our quiz is tomorrow. This worksheet should give us a good idea if we're ready or not. I'll also send out just a picture of the answers tonight. So if there's something we don't get to today, make sure that you watch the video and check your answers tonight. All right, so our first problem, and we're dividing 1,769 divided by 29. All right. Yes, sir? You can work at your own pace, or you can work along with me. Okay. When I'm working out this problem, Christian, which number is going to go at the door? 29. So I'm going to put 29 at the door, and I'm going to put 1,769 in the house. And again, you'll see I'm not adding in extra commas until I need it for my answer. If you want to work this on notebook paper where you have the lines to line everything up, I think that's an excellent idea. Yes, sir, Christian?
On the test, can we use notebook paper to...
Yes, sir, you can use notebook paper while we're doing the test if that helps you to line things up. And I'll just ask you to write your final answer on the quiz, and you'll staple them together when you turn them in. Okay? All right. So for this first problem, we have 29 into 1,769. We're looking at how many times 29 will go into 1. Hopefully you all realize that that is not going to work. You can write a 0 up on top if you want to leave that blank. It's fine. The next thing we're going to do is ask ourselves how many times can 29 go into 17. 29 is still larger than that, so we're going to put a 0 again because it cannot go into 17. So now it's getting bigger, but we have 29 into 176. All right, guys, I'm going to show you a little trick. 29 is really close to 30. All right, 176 is kind of close to 180. The first numbers of that, I have a 3 and an 18, if I think of it like that. Or again, cover up that 2, cover up that 6. That's another way to check. All right. I know that 3 will go into 18 6 times. All right, so I'm going to assume 29 will go into 176 about 6 times. I don't know that for sure, so I'm going to go over to the side, and that just gives me a place to start. So I'm going to do 29 times 6. 6 times 9 is 54. Write my 4, carry my 5. 6 times 2 is 12, plus 5 is 17, so I get 174. As you can see, it's smaller and it's really close, so that's going to work, which means 29 goes into 176 6 times. And then I know that 6 times 29, do I have to work it out again? No, I already did it right here, is 174. After we multiply, we're ready to subtract. 6 minus 4 is 2. 7 minus 7? 0. It goes away. 1 minus 1? It goes away. So we're done with that. All right, we still want to check. Even though it seems like a silly step, we want to check, is 2 smaller than 29? Yes. McKenna? Okay. All right, so we bring down our 9. And now we've got 29 will go into 29. How many times will that happen? How many times will 29 go into 29, really? Once. So now we're going to multiply again. 1 times 29 is 29. When I subtract, I get 0. All right? Once I get 0, we're still just going to check, even though it seems silly. Is 0 smaller than 29? Yes. Is there anything left to bring down in this problem? No, which means we're done. Another thing that we want to check, if you notice, does every number have something on top? Yes, because I lined everything up neatly. All right, now when I circle my answer, do I need the zeros that are out in front of that? No. So my answer is really just going to be 61. Okay, we don't need those zeros in front. Those are really just placeholders here. Okay? So let's look at the next one. We have 43, and that's going into 3,052. All right. How many times will 43 go into 3? 0. So we can put a placeholder there. How many times will 43 go into 30? 0, so we can put a placeholder there. How many times will 43 go into 305? So this one I'm going to have to think a little bit harder on. All right? Guys, if you want to, you can just pick a number to start with. An easy number to multiply is 2, right? So if I wanted to, I could just come over here and write 43 times 2. What's 2 times 3? 6. And what's 2 times 4? 8. Is 86 close to 305? No. So 2 is probably not a very good guess. So I'm going to try a different number. What number do we want to try now? Mylon? 5 would work. So you notice, did she just go 1 up? All right, since we knew we had to get all the way up to 305, she picked a couple of numbers higher. I'm still not writing it in my work. This is just my scratch work. So 43 times 5. All right, 5 times 3 is 15. Carry my 1. 5 times 4 is 20, plus 1 is... So this time I'm getting closer. I have 215. Remember, I'm trying to get to 305. Do y'all think I can fit one more in there, or do you think that 215 is good? What do you think, Angel? 7? Let's try 7. All right. So we know 215. It's still kind of far away, isn't it? So I think that's a good idea. We'll try 7. 43 times 7. 7 times 3?
1.
Carry the 2. 7 times 4?
28.
Plus 2 is 30. Okay, so that's excellent. All right, so we got 301. Is that still smaller?
Yes.
Okay. Is it really close?
Yes.
All right, so we're going to put a 7 on top. So 7 times 43 gives me 301. And now we're ready to subtract that. All right, do you have a question? Are we ready? Question, Carlos? Yeah, you can always do one more until you go up above. Now this time, because 301 and 305 are so close, that means that's as far as we can go. Because if I add 43 more to 301, am I going to go above 305? Okay. If I add 43 to this, we're definitely going to go higher. Okay? But like when I had 215, if I added 43 to that, I still had a ways to go. All right, so let's subtract this now. 5 minus 1 is 4, and then my zeros and my 3's right there are just going to go away and become 0. All right, we got to check. Is 4 smaller than 43?
Yes.
All right, so we can bring down the 2. All right, how many times will 43 go into 42? Raise your hand. Thank you, Jose. 0. Do I need to put that 0 on top? Yes. Do y'all see? Okay. Do you see how there's no number on top of the 2? So we have to put 0 there. That has to go there. All right. And 0 times 43 is 0. And when I subtract, 42 minus 0 is 42. That's still following those same steps. It sounds a little silly with a 0. We're still going to check. Is 42 smaller than 43? Yes. Is there anything left to bring down? No. That's when we know we're done, guys. When I brought down that 2, I had to divide because I brought something down. Once you can't bring anything down, that's when you're finished. Okay? So I have 70 up on top. All right? Guys, I've noticed a lot of us are writing our remainder really big. All right, I don't want our remainder to be big. I'm going to write my remainder next to this, kind of small. All right, do you see how the fraction bar went in the middle of the 70? It didn't go at the bottom of the 70. It's in the middle. What number is going to go on top of that fraction, Fernando?
It's going to go 42.
42. And what number is going to go on the bottom? Carlos? 43. All right, guys, 42 and 43 are right back to back, aren't they?
Yes.
Guys, if they're back to back, the only thing that'll go into them that's the same as 1. So that won't simplify. Do I need those zeros in my answer?
No.
No, so my answer here is 70 and 42 43rds. All right, I think we have time for one more before the bell rings. Guys, please remember I am going to send a picture of all these answers on Remind. If you don't have Remind, you can go to my website and go to Math6Remind. It'll have the picture on there. Okay? So let's do this one really quick. 230 times 44. Okay, this is kind of like what we did in our bell ringer. 4 times 0. 4 times 3.
12.
Carry the 1. 4 times 2.
6.
8 plus the 1.
9.
Okay, before, so I'm done with the first 4. I'm going to exit. Whenever I put an X, I put an O for my placeholder. All right, and now I'm going to multiply again. So 4 times 0. 4 times 3. 12. Carry the 1. 4 times 2. 8 plus the 1. 9. Now remember, those should match, just the bottom one should have an extra 0. 0 and 0. 2 and 0. 9 and 2. 11. Carry that 1. 1 and 9. 10. So I actually got 10,120. Oh, and it got a little crooked there. Okay. All right, so now looking at number 4. This one is basic multiplication problem. Hopefully this is going to be an easy breezy type of problem if we see it on the quiz tomorrow. So we're taking that 4,584 and multiplying it times 8, making sure we show all of our steps. When we multiply our 8 times 4, we get 32. Writing down the 2, carrying the 3. 8 times 8 gives us 64, plus the 3 gives us 67. Make sure you're checking my math facts. 8 times 5 is 40, plus the 6 gives me 46. Carry the 4. And then we have 8 times 4, which is 32, plus 4 more gives us 36, leaving us with a final answer of 36,672. All right, for number 5, addition, making sure we line up all of our place value. So we have 1,769 on top, making sure our 29 is lined up underneath the 69. So our 1s line up and our 10s place lines up. 9 plus 9 should give us 18. Make sure we write the 8 and carry the 1. 1 plus 6 is 7, plus 2 more gives me 9. And then we don't have anything to add to the 7 or the 1, so we can bring those down, giving us 1,798. For many of us, I know this is a problem we could do in our head, but just because we are testing on that standard algorithm, we do need to show the vertical way to add those two numbers, please. All right, on number 6, so now we've got some subtraction, just reviewing those 4 basic operations before we have to take a quiz on them. If I can write a 9 instead of a 2, that would be great. All right, so excuse my messy 9. 2 minus 9 we can't do, so we are going to have to borrow from the 5. When I take 1 away, it becomes 4. The 1 that I took from 5, I'm going to put in front of the 2. And then we have 2 minus 9, which gives me 3. 4 minus 7, we cannot do that. So I would go next door and I would try to borrow from 0. We cannot borrow from 0, so an easier way to think of this is borrowing from 30. If I take 1 away from 30, that gives me 29, and the 1 that I borrowed goes with the 4 next door, making it 14. So now I have 14 minus 7, which is 7. There's nothing under the 9 to subtract, so I bring it down. Nothing under the 2 to subtract, so I bring it down, giving me 2,973. All right, looking at the bottom problems, we got a couple of word problems on here. Please remember when we're doing word problems, after we work it out, we do need to make sure that we're answering the question that it asks clearly. So here we have Sandy, who decided to sell all of her old books. She gathered up 47 books to sell. She sold 17 books in a yard sale, and we want to know how many she has now. So again, remember, Sandy originally had 47. If she sold 17, that's going to be taking it away. So that's going to be subtraction, and I'm still having trouble writing the correct number. So there we go. That's a 17 there. Again, excuse the messy 17. And now we're going to subtract that. 7 minus 7 is 0. 4 minus 1 is 3. So I get 30. All right, again, this is a word problem, so we want answers there. On your quiz, I will tell you it does specify to answer in a complete sentence, so let's practice that now. If it asks, how many books does Sandy have now? I want to rephrase that question with my answer in a sentence. So I'm going to say, Sandy has 30 books. Making sure to write a complete sentence for that answer. And then I'm just going to box that in where I've written that final answer of 30. All right, Miss Donahue has 105 boxes of tissues. How many boxes did each student bring if she has 29 students? So here we're taking those boxes and I'm wanting to split them up so I can determine the amount of boxes a student brought. If I'm splitting it up, that is going to be the operation of division. So we have 29 that we're dividing into 105. Okay. So 29 won't go into 0. 29 won't go into 10. So I'm stuck trying to put it in that big number. Again, I always recommend let's go out to the side, do some multiplication facts for 29 and see what's going to get us close. A lot of people would probably try 5 first because that ends in a 5. So we're going to do 29 times 5, 29 times 5 over here, see where that puts us, and then we can go up or down from there. So 5 times 9 is 45. Write my 5, carry my 4. 5 times 2 is 10, plus 4 gives me 14. So I got 145, which is a lot higher than 105. So I might drop down, instead of just dropping to 4, I might drop down to 3. So let's do 29 times 3 and see where that puts us. 9 times 3 is 27, so I'm going to write my 7, carry the 2. 3 times 2 is 6, plus 2 gives me 7. 8 gives me 8. So I get 87, which is closer to 105 without going over. Remember, when we're working this out, when we check it, that'll give me also another way to check and make sure we pick the correct number. So I'm going to try using the number 3 and see where we go. So I had 3 times 29. I already worked that out, so I can just bring my 87 over here. And when I subtract 5 minus 7, I'm going to have to borrow. I'm going to borrow from 10, which makes it just a 9, and 5 becomes 15. All right? 15 minus 7 is going to give me 8, and 9 minus 8 is 1. So I got 18. The way we're going to check this is we're just going to see, is 18 smaller than 29? It is, so 3 was the best choice. Yay, us. So let's double check this, because we don't necessarily want to write, when we have a word problem, we don't really necessarily want to write this as a fraction or remainder. Let's see what it's asking again. How many boxes did each student bring if she has 29 students? So when you're looking at the top, this is always the whole number. So this is the whole amount of tissue boxes. All right, and then 18 would be how many are left over. So what that means when I'm looking at this is that everyone brought in at least 3, but some students, 18 to be exact, brought in an extra box. So when I write my answer, what it's looking for is not that we say every student brought in 3 and 18 29th boxes of tissues, because you can't buy a piece of a box of a tissue. So we're just going to say each student bought at least 3 boxes of tissues. So that answers the question that it asked, which is our 3 boxes, because that was the whole number in this case that it wanted to know. And then we know if you wanted to add in there, you could add in there that 18 students brought an extra box. That just gives us extra information. Just make sure we're wording that correctly. All right, let's look at number 10. Sally earns $12 an hour cleaning houses, but doesn't work on Saturday or Sunday. If she works from 8 a.m. to 2 p.m., how much money will she make in a week? So we need to remember that she doesn't work Saturday and Sunday. So normally we would say a week is 7 days. But this time we have to remember this week is going to be 5 days because we're not including the weekend. All right, so it's important that we also know how many hours that is. If she's working from 8 a.m. to 2 p.m., we need to know how many hours that is, since it tells us she earns $12 an hour cleaning houses. So 8 a.m. to 2, so I know from 8 to 12 is 4 hours, and then I have 2 more hours. So that's going to be 6 hours. 6 hours from 8 to 2. All right, so we have 6 hours a day, and we do that 5 days, and we're earning $12 each hour. So this is actually going to take us a couple of steps. If you wanted to, you could find out how many hours she works in a week first by multiplying 6 times 5. Or we can find out how much she makes each day since she works 6 hours. If we do it this way, it's going to keep our numbers that we're multiplying a little bit smaller, which might be nice because that'll keep it easy. So let's start by just finding out how much she's going to make in one day. So we're going to do $12 times 6. So 6 times 2 gives me 12, carrying my 1. And then 6 times 1 is 6, plus the 1 gives me 7. So that's $72 a day. All right, and now I'm going to take that $72 and I'm going to multiply it by 5 days, since that's how many are in our week that we're counting. So times 5. So 5 times 2 is 10, putting your 0, carrying the 1. 5 times 7 is 35, plus the 1 is 36. So this is going to be $360 in a week. Now remember, in something like our math workshops and stuff, we did, with our answers, always write some words with it. But on our quiz, I do want a complete sentence written out, so let's practice that here. So in 1 week, Sally will earn $360. All right, and you'll notice I did specify the time frame that the question gave us and my answer of $360. All right, if you have any questions, please come and see me in the morning. Remember, and along with this quiz, we do also have our time multiplication fact quiz. So please make sure that you're practicing those. We're looking for those scores to go up since the practice round we did in class. I will see y'all tomorrow. Have a great afternoon. Practice, practice, practice our math.